Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Sam Hossack Media Podcast. We'll get to our guest shortly, but first, this interview of the Sam Hossack Media Podcast is brought to you by Juice Plus, a line of whole food products to bridge the gap between what you eat and what you should eat. Juice Plus, the next best thing to fruits and vegetables. For more information, please contact independent distributor Shelly Hossack. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome today's guest to the show. He is a legend in Barrie, coaching 10 years with the Barrie Colts, the right-hand man to Dale Howardchuk, a 5-year veteran of the OHL. Please welcome Brandon Wheat King's assistant coach, Todd Miller.
Hey, Sam.
Todd, it's a pleasure to have you on here, and we'll get started here. You're an alumni of the OHL, so just take us through a little bit of your OHL career and how that kind of went for you.
Yeah, I spent probably 4 years in the OHL. Big thing for me, I started out in Sarnia. I was drafted in the second round of the Sarnia Sting, and with Mark Hunter as my coach, it was great to have him as a coach. A lot of good players in Sarnia. It was kind of when Sarnia first started, so fan base, and Sarnia is a great place too. Started there, and was after my first year was drafted to the New York Islanders in the NHL. Got hurt in my first camp in the NHL camp, and had some knee problems throughout the rest of my hockey career. Had some knee surgery, but then ended up playing a few more years in the OHL. But traded a few times, and ended up in Sault Ste. Marie, where I kind of ended my OHL career. Couldn't pass a medical to sign with the New York Islanders. So it was a frustrating time being so young and having my whole future ahead of me. And so I played in the minors for as long as I could, the stops all over the place, and ended up in Europe, which I had a lot of fun, but was kind of playing on one leg for, 5 years. So it was time after that to move on to the coaching side of things and get hockey schools and that kind of thing going, as I knew my career was coming to an end.
For sure, and take us through those 2 years of you in Germany. Obviously, it's a little different coming over from Canada to go over to Germany to play. So just take us through how those 2 years went for you.
Yeah, they were interesting. I really enjoyed my time there. Game's a lot different, a lot more open ice. I was drafted as a centerman to the NHL, but when I went over there, I played defense for the time when I was there, and it was great. Just being able to run and gun and do what you want and jump into the rush. But the people were real nice. The way of living was a lot different. I remember the first time I went grocery shopping, I loaded up, and they shopped one day at a time, so the people thought I was a bit crazy. And had to learn to shop, once a day like the rest of them, because I was holding up all the lines. But Autobahn was pretty fun. They gave us nice cars, and we could cruise that as fast as we wanted to go. So that was pretty fun as well. And they set you up real nice. You get an apartment, you get a BMW or a Mercedes, and it's a great setup. And then all that money that you make, it's basically tax free for most purposes. So it's pretty nice.
And after a brief stint in the East Coast Hockey League, you got into coaching a little bit, starting with the Bradford Rattlers of the Greater Metro Hockey League. So just tell us how that kind of came about, and being the general manager there for a season.
Yeah, I wasn't there very long, to be honest with you. I was with Bob Russell in the World Hockey Center, and it was a center where we trained players year round, and we had hockey schools in the summer. So my main thing was head of development there and doing a lot of that kind of thing. And then they decided to start a league, and it was exciting that they wanted to start a junior A league. And I actually was with the new team that was in Innisfil, the Innisfil Lakers they were called, and that was the 1 year I did coach in the GMHL. Had a lot of fun there and made it to the finals, and we had some real good players back then, and it's fun to watch where they've moved on to, and even the fields they've gotten into. But had a lot of fun there, and with the league, I'm really proud that Bob Russell and Ken Gerard are doing a great job with adding teams, and I to be honest with you, I didn't know how long this league would last, and to see how far it's gone and the teams and, all across. It's very neat. I actually went to one of their golf tournaments and got to meet a lot of the people within the organizations. And they've done a fantastic job, though, at making this still go, and it's exciting.
Now, the next season after being in Bradford, you joined the Barrie Colts as an assistant coach. So talk about working with guys like Dale Howardchuk, Howie Campbell, and list goes on, and some of the players that you've coached along the years, Mark Scheifele, Andrei Sveshnikov, Mangiapane, the list goes on there as well.
Yeah, me and Dale had a pretty good relationship even from the start. We met each other through my hockey school, and when he was about to come through, I owned my own hockey school, and he came up to visit, and we talked and chatted, and we hit it off right away, and asked if I'd be a part of the organization. And since that day forward, we couldn't be any closer. We couldn't have been any closer of friends, and so that was great. And then with regards to the players that we had, you can name off. We're so happy, and as a coach, it's so nice to see your players go on, and not even the guys that just got the NHL, but it's the guys that are doctors, lawyers, real estate agents, stuff. And the years fly by, and you're just like, holy man. But those days of Mark Scheifele, Aaron Ekblad, even Sveshnikov not long ago, Tanner Pearson, there's so many to name. Mangiapane is a kid I found at my hockey school in Wasaga Beach. He was undrafted, and I had like a showcase camp, which I bring in kids that weren't drafted. And I started that camp, and every year I found 2 or 3 kids a year that either went on to NCAA or other OHL teams, but that was my main guy that I took upon myself to really be adamant with him. He wasn't drafted, so I could not invite him for that year to come to our main camp, but I had to talk to his father and state that, what, I see the ability of your son, and please will you come to us the following year. And then, that's a long time, another year to wait and to see if he would actually come, because I'm sure he got offers from a lot of other places. But since we were the first one, the dad called me the next year, and I told him, like, I hope you're coming to Barrie, because we're waiting for you, and I promise you that we're going to look after your son. And the rest is history. He went on to he started off slow. We had a lot of older guys in the lineup, but by Christmas time, he was playing on the second line and ended up with a point a game. And the following year, I think he had 100 plus points, got drafted in the 6th round, and I thought he was a steal of the draft. And the following year, he got another 100 points, over 100 points, and went to Stockton and the American League, and was leading the league in scoring at one point. People were going, well, where did this guy come from? But to watch him now on TV, I'm still in touch with him. I'm in touch with a lot of my players, and it's exciting to see a player that was really small. I think when I noticed him, he was only about 5'6". So I saw the skill and the ability, and I know the game was changing. And if you don't change with the game will pass you by. So I knew the game was changing, and smaller guys were starting to be a commodity in the NHL. So I think it was perfect timing for Mangiapane to get in there. But he's one of the special ones, just seeing those great stories about kids that are overlooked, and you can find a player like that and you go on to that much success is great.
And another guy who is just like Mangiapane was Lucas Chiodo, 15th round pick. Just talk about the effort Cheeto kind of put in every year he was in Barrie.
Cheeto's a special player, and I was rooting for him to go a lot higher in that draft, and talked with our scouts, and I'm like, we can't pass this guy up. Local kid, one of the nicest kids you'll ever meet, went on to playing in Europe, and just a great player. And it's always nice to have a local player do so well in his hometown. I'm a big believer, if you've got 2 players, and even if one's not quite as good, I'm looking at the local guy, because you know what, the fans appreciate you having the local players in the community. But Lucas Chiodo was a pleasure every day to coach. Like, he brought it every game. For how small he was, he pushed the pace, and he's one of those special guys too. He's one of my favorites that I've ever coached.
Now, you and Dale Howardchuck, having worked together for 9 seasons, just talk about that friendship. Obviously, it was a tragic day in August of last year with him passing away. But just talk about that friendship you guys had.
Yeah, we were friends both on like at the rink and away from the rink. We golfed a lot together and confiding to each other. And you know, when he had cancer, he was there for me when my daughter had cancer, and it was a game day, and I found out that she had a tumor, and he was there for me. And same thing for him when he had got cancer. I was first guy, first supporter to be there for him, and just an amazing guy. I thought I knew the game until I met him. Like you know, there's lots of good ex Hall of Famers that are not so great at the coaching side of it or seeing it because they were just so good. You take a guy like Wayne Gretzky, greatest player to ever play, but you saw it just so good and so well that you couldn't really translate it to the guys, I don't think, where Dale Howardchuck was a different kind of player. He grew up with no attitude, you know, like came to put his work boots on every day, and everything he ever got in life, he earned it. And he wasn't the most skilled guy, wasn't a great skater, but he pushed it every day. And that's the kind of guy that you just want to look up to and learn from. And I mean, it was a free education every day I went to the rink. I think in my future in coaching, there's going to be a lot of Dale Howardchuck in that with pushing the pace. And, you know, we both were on the same page with a lot of stuff. We did fight a lot too about certain situations with penalty kills or power plays or that kind of thing, but it was a friendly fight and we both respected each other. And it was really nice to have a guy like that did so much for hockey and with no ego. He never had an ego. So it was a tough year for myself and Dale's family and the players and everyone around. So yeah, it's been a rough go, but now I'm in Dale land here in Manitoba, where I know he'd be looking down right now, real happy that I'm taking this opportunity to move forward and to bigger and better things.
Now, last season was the first year coaching without Dale. So, how did some of the older guys on the Barrie Colts kind of adapt to the change that you guys had there? Obviously, there was a couple guys left who had been coached by Dale in the past. Aiden Brown and Chris Cameron, two of the bigger guys there.
Yeah, you know, it was an adjustment for all the players too. It's you know, a lot of these kids have never seen something like that where their coach passes away, and it was hard on everybody, you know. Like, and I think my core older guys, Aiden Brown, Luke Bignall, Chris Cameron, those guys uh, knew me real well and knew that how close me and Dale's relationship were, and they were very comfortable with me um, taking over the team and moving forward. And I try to reiterate to those players all the time. But it was really neat when I was coaching the team to have Dale come in and talk to the guys, even when he wasn't feeling well. It just boosted our players that much more, and even coaches like and general managers and everybody around, scouts. It made us all feel more accountable too to do it for Dale. And I just reiterated all the time to the kids that you know what, you got to take every day, you know, pretty serious. You know, you never know what could happen. So make sure that you're playing hard every day and appreciate what you've got.
Now, before we move on to some more Barry stuff here, funniest Dale Howardchuck story from coaching together.
Wow, there's a lot of them, but I think there's one game when Dale was. I got hit with a puck in the head, and I used to have long hair, so he always made fun of me for having long. Called me Johnny Slickster, and they thought it was so funny. And I got clipped in the head, and he said, "Oh, the gel, you didn't even have a bump in your head. What happened? There's all that. Your hair was so hard, puck just bounced off." Well, he's making fun of me. A period later, sure enough, puck hits him right in the jaw. So that was pretty funny. Little karma to get him back. But no, we had lots of funny stories and things. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but we had a lot of fun. He tried to, he was a good one-liner guy. I remember being on the cell phone at practice out by the by the bench there before practice, and he goes, "Oh, are you calling the guy to get your money back for that haircut?" Yeah, so just things like that. He had good one-liners and always appreciate, and that's what made it fun to come to the rink. And that was a big thing with me and Dale were, you know what, if you're not having fun, why are you playing this game, and why are you coaching, or why are you doing? You got to have fun, and you got to make, when you're at the rink every day, and these players got to understand how lucky they are, and they work an hour a day, 2 hours a day, and that's not much to ask to give it your all. So no, a lot of fun times with Dale, and stories do come up and pop up in my head once in a while. Yeah, it's always, every day I think about him a little bit here and there, and there's always something that comes up that makes me appreciate my time with him. I'm still in touch with his wife and making sure she's all right, and with the kids, with Lexi and Ben. I'm in touch with them, with Ben the most. Eric as well, and Eric's away in Arizona. But Eric's done such an amazing job with Howard Chuck Strong. Him and Jax there have really done a really good job of giving back to the community, which is amazing, and I hope that continues for a long time.
Absolutely. And last season, a little bit of a struggle for the Colts in the first half, and going into rebuild at the trade deadline, bringing in guys like Josh Nelson, Ethan Cardwell, and a couple other guys. How much did that kind of help you guys in the second half of last year?
Yeah, it was a struggle. We had a lot of injuries. We had a lot of defensemen playing forward, and there's a lot going on. And Warren Reichel was in as interim coach to start, and that was a new adjustment too. And I think once the new players came in, and we did bring in some, like Josh Nelson was a great overage player to bring in for the young guys to watch how hard he worked and what he brought to the table every game. I mean, he won a lot of big games for us, scored a lot of big goals. You got Ethan Cardwell, Evan Vierling, Punnett on D, who's going to be phenomenal in Barrie. I think Ethan Cardwell is underrated. I thought he would go in the NHL draft this year, but he'll get a chance to be at a camp, or he'll probably get drafted this year coming up, I'd hope. He's a 40-goal guy, I think, in our league all day long. Evan Vierling's a very, very special player. When he came in, and I sat him down once I took over and just said, relax. I'm going to give you huge minutes, but I'm going to hold you accountable. You want to play with one of the better players in the league, Tyson Forster, you better bring it every night, because if you don't bring it every night, you won't be on that line. And he made sure every night that he brought his A game to play with Tyson. And I was really, really proud of him, the way that he played down the stretch. And Punnett on D, I mean, I had to put him on forward for a little while, and he played forward when he was a bit younger. And I promised that I would get him back on D, but he did a great job for me when we had a lot of injuries. The players, the core players that they have that are there now, it's too bad that this year is not going, or might still go, but for this whole season and for next, we're Barrie Colts are set up pretty nicely, and hopefully everything gets back to normal for next year and you have a regular whole season, because that's a special group of guys. And I don't think there's one guy in that room that hasn't been through a lot with the Dale and with myself and that kind of thing. But I think Dale and myself taught them a lot. I think they're going to build off that. And no matter who's coming in to coach, they're pretty lucky. They get to walk into a place where these boys have the structure and the knowledge already. And they basically, it's great for them, whoever it is that does come in to coach that hockey club.
Now, two phenomenal players from that club last year that we could spend the entire podcast talking about. First rounder Tyson Forster, the Philadelphia Flyers, and projected top 5 pick this year, Brant Clark. Just talk about how special those two guys are to the Barrie Colts organization.
Yeah, those two guys are very special players. Tyson Forster is just one of the hardest working guys you'll find, and he kind of reminds me of Dale Howardchuk. They said Dale Howardchuk couldn't skate. They said Mark Scheifele couldn't skate at some points, that have scouts say. They say the same thing about Tyson, and I told every NHL scout that I talked to last year, you guys are crazy if you're not watching this kid more closely. He gets there. He might have an awkward skating stance, but he gets there, and you got a great player, and he's a kid. He loves fishing. He loves the outdoors. He's turning into a man. He's got the attitude. He's got all the intangibles. I compare his attitude to Ekblad or Scheifele or the better players that we've had, or Mangiapane or LeBanc. he has those intangibles and those things that, the confidence to do great things. His shot's unbelievable, but he's even a better person. With Clarkie's probably the best defenseman, to be honest with you. Ekblad was damn good defenseman, but Clark, with his ability to go back for pucks at his age and fend off a forecheck by himself and come out with the puck and lead the rush is pretty special. And me and him had a good relationship when I took over the team. He was really struggling, gripping his stick too tight, and I sat him down, and me and him had a one-on-one, and I said, listen, kid, let's have some fun now. I'm going to let you take the reins off you a bit. I'm going to let you play your offensive game, but you got to be the first one back if you're going to do that. And sure enough, first game in, he scored a goal, and it was like he won the Stanley Cup. And then from that day forward, he just blossomed. He turned into a more effective guy. I did hold him accountable. He got caught a few times, but I'll tell you what, there's not many guys, and I still talk to NHL scouts right now because they're wondering, obviously with no season, they want to know from their past coach what the intangibles of this kid are. And he's got them all, and he's only going to get bigger, faster, stronger with that skill set and reading the play and jumping into the rush. I mean, I haven't seen many defensemen like that, to be honest with you. I know he's not the biggest guy. He doesn't look like he's the greatest skater. He doesn't look like, much, but when you really watch him play the game and how deceptive he is and how he can just turn something into nothing, and he gets under the other team's skin. He gets under our players' skin in practice. They'll think they've got him beat wide, and he pokes it off. He's going the other way. So, no, I'm really excited for him. I really feel, for me, he's a no-brainer top 3 pick in the NHL draft coming up. And I hope I'm not speaking too early, but he's that special.
Yeah, for sure. He was a phenomenal player to watch last year, and I know Cardwell gave it to him a little bit on their podcast. I don't know if you heard it, but Clarkie kind of was a bit of a hothead, I guess, in the OHL, mouthing off to a lot of guys last year. So hopefully he'll level that out this year if they get a season. But
yeah, he get in some trouble in practice. Our older guys would take some runs at him, and I kind of let a few go just because I had the same thing happen to me when I was in the OHL as a rookie, and sometimes you got to learn that if you're going to be chirping, you're going to have to pay the piper at some point. So that's something he'll learn. And as a rookie, a highly touted rookie, the players don't want to hear you chirping and that. They know you're a good player, but you better be accountable and not be. If you're going to chirp, you're going to get it back. So I think he's got that strong mentality, though, that nothing phases him. A guy would whack him in the head with a stick. Guy would, by accident, get his stick up on him or an elbow in the face, and he'd be bleeding. Or I get one of the players, I lifted his stick and took his 2 front teeth out in a 3-on-3 drill down low, and he was the first one to come out of that corner. And I was nervous, but he came right out and stayed in the drill. And it's funny talking. He had a little bit of a lisp and came to me, and I was chuckling, but he got right back in there. And that's makes a special guy. A guy could shut down real quick like that, and that's what makes him special. A guy could be like, okay, this is too hard for me, but he didn't care. He got right back in there.
Now, last year, some players that the Barrie Colts would have faced were Quentin Byfield and Marco Rossi. Just talk about how special of players those guys are to kind of watch. Obviously, seeing Byfield quite a bit more than Rossi, but talk about playing against those guys as a coach.
Yeah, those guys are special players, and Byfield had our number all year last year. I feel that we had a chance to catch them. I feel like when we went on our run, and I think we went on an 11-1 run, and I thought we were right there. But every time we get to 2 points from them, they'd be coming into our building, or we'd be going into theirs, and they'd always find a way off an ass or something. A puck would bounce in, or Byfield's all of a sudden alone by himself. And with my scouting I do before the games, it'd be like, all right, when he's on it, you got to know where he is. And for some reason, he was left alone a few times, and we paid the piper for it. And then Rossi's a special player. That whole team in Ottawa was a special team, and their coach is phenomenal. They find ways all the time to win games. I mean, I kind of nervous going in to Ottawa on the Sportsnet game across Canada with a young team, and we're facing the number 1 team in Canada. I wanted to just keep it close, and I was real proud of the players on how they played that game. And reiterated to them how important it was to do the right things. But to come out of that game and to lose in overtime, I'd take that any day of the week. And Rossi's a special guy. He's dangerous all over the ice. He pushes the pace. There's the Quinn of the world. Those guys their power play is unbelievable. You get them on their power play, you're in trouble. But they're well coached, and both guys are phenomenal players. They're going to have well extended careers in the NHL. Byfield again I thought LA might take a chance on keeping him. Just they got LA that has a team that's not that great at this point. I thought they'd give him some more time because he's a big, strong kid and needs to learn the NHL game. Coming back to the OHL, I don't feel that him getting 100 some points is really going to help his game. He's got the offense already. He needs to learn the defense at the NHL level and learns how to play against men every day. So that was kind of interesting to me to see him if he comes back to Sudbury. Good for them, but for Quentin, I think he should be in LA.
Now, last year, a special night, the Colts head was retiring Brian Little's jersey. So take us through how that night went for you guys to kind of prepare your players, obviously having a warm-up and then having a lengthy ceremony and then a game. So just take us through how that went and how special that was.
Well, that was an interesting night, and I don't know if you were there or saw that game, but it was very special to have a player like Brian Little come back and have a first number retired in Barrie, with I hope a lot more to come now. There's been many good players that come through, but Brian's a great guy, and he was actually sick that day, and it was hard for him even to come to the game. He wasn't feeling well, but the players saw, I had this little speech before the game just in regards to Brian wasn't the biggest guy, but he's the hardest working guy every day. And, it just shows you, he's 5'11", maybe at the most, 5'10", 5'11", center that pushed the pace and played every day like it was his last day. And look what he's done. He had what a career in the NHL, and I hope he gets back to playing. I know it's hard, but just to have the number retired and to sit through all that stuff and then get the game going. I think we entertained the fans the most that night, our team. I told our players, we got up to a 5-0 lead. I think Cardwell had 3 goals in the first period, 3 or 4. We were up 5-0 on Hamilton. I believe that was the night. And I went into the room after the first period, and I'm like, guys, I've seen this a million times in this league. In the OHL, you can never, ever sit back and think it's going to be point night. And I said, all it's going to take is one off a shin pad, and their hands are going to loosen up, and all of a sudden they're going to come back. We take a couple dumb penalties, a couple other cheap goals, and they're back in this. And sure enough, we go for the second. One goes off a butt in the net. Then we take a penalty, a dumb penalty, and I think they were on the power play for 4 minutes and scored 2 other cheap goals. But by the third period, they tied it 5-5, and we're going into overtime. And I went into that room and just said, it's going to be a long couple days after this if you guys don't find a way to win this game. But they're all learning lessons, to be honest with you. For me, it was great to have such a young group of guys that were so talented, and every game they had learned something new. So I found it was great. Like, as much as I wanted to pull my hair out on the bench, I wasn't happy, and we found a way. We won in overtime. Brownie scored a big goal for us. I love Brownie. He's always played so hard for our team. And it was a learning thing. I didn't even go into the room after the game. I just let them think about what I said after the first period.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember being at that game, and Brownie's face after he scored that overtime goal. It was like he just won the Stanley Cup or something.
Yeah.
He was so happy to get that for him. And obviously, a guy like that who had spent his entire career with Barrie is something special. So just talk a little bit about Aiden Brown and how much he meant to the Barrie Colts.
Yeah, Aiden was a guy that we had for 5 years, and I'm telling you right now, his leadership in the room, especially as he got older. He came in real young, so he was around a lot of good hockey players and got to watch a lot of them, like the Banks and their Majapanis or even Shrezhnikov, watching him, or Suzuki. And so he's been around a lot of guys, so he knows, what it takes. And he might not have, I feel, I was hoping he was going to get a chance this year to get to a camp and show some stuff, because he does have those intangibles that you don't see a lot of guys like that anymore. But he can hit. He can get on a forecheck like anybody ever seen, and he's got a great release. But him in time, in his overage year, I feel the second half of the season he took over. Like, he won us a ton of games, and it was just his hard work and his leadership. And him and Tyson Forster are really tight. They live together, and those two guys and to see Tyson Forster at 17 be a leader like that, it was great as well. But those two guys together, banded together, got that team together, and it really showed. But Aiden Brown will be a friend for life. We talk quite often just about certain things, and just on his life. And now he's at Guelph University, which I'm happy for him, and he'll do great in whatever he does. He's got those, another player with intangibles that you just love, and anybody in any workplace would love to have an Aiden Brown.
Absolutely, and we'll go through some of the playoff series you guys went through in Barrie. One of the tougher ones was the 2013 OHL Finals. Take us through Game 7 against the London Knights. How tough was that?
That's one of the hardest series as a coach, and Dale and myself have ever been through. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, we were up in that series 3-1. I thought we had them. There was a lot of banter going back and forth, and Dale Hunter did a great job on selling that we were diving and this and that. And as much as you don't want to say that we should have won that, it was as soon as he went on TV, and I gave a lot of respect to Dale that he didn't go back at Hunter at all. And Dale kept it very PG and didn't say anything about diving or anything about what their team was doing. That's what was special about Dale Howardchuk, is that he didn't have to say anything. He was respectful. He was a guy that, let the players play, let them do their thing, and let's not get involved as coaches into this stuff. But at any time, the Hunters I love the Hunters. Dale's amazing, Mark's amazing, but they always find a way. They know how to trick you into certain things. And Kamara getting suspended was a big one, flipping the puck over the glass. I think that really hurt us. Scheifele getting hurt, get two headshots in the same shift and got a concussion. Like, clearly a penalty, nothing to be called, no suspensions at all. That was frustrating. But Game 7, where basically our third line was our first line for that game, and we were playing with our extra bodies on our third line, fourth lines, like guys that never played most of the year. And we went into London, and Josh McDonald had the game on a stick with I think there was about a minute left in the game. He had an empty net, and he hit the crossbar, and it bounced off Murmis and bounced out. So that was really frustrating. And then the goal with whatever it was, 2 or 4 seconds left by Horvat. We weren't sure. We couldn't see from the bench, and they were showing it when they finally showed it on the Jumbotron. We were like, oh man, that did cross the line. And that was probably the hardest thing to watch our players, to be honest. As a coach, it's hard, but I think me and Dale more were worried about our guys. Because when you work so hard for something and believe in something, I just feel the chemistry and the players we had, they all believed. And that was a team that was so underrated. We were never talked about, which I was surprised, but we loved it. They thought big London. I'll tell you what, if we had our full lineup the whole series, that it wouldn't have gone past 5 games.
Now, the next series I want to talk about is the first round matchup. The year Sveshnikov was there against the Mississauga Steelhead. You guys pull out the win there, but Sveshnikov, who was kind of coming back from an injury at that point that had put him out for most of the second half of the year, Mississauga played him hard. So how hard was that for you guys to have your top guy kind of be playing the hardest he was all year?
Yeah, well, he's a bull. He's a special guy. I still look at him like, there's no way this kid's 17 years old. Like, there's no way. He come in, he's jacked. He's like a man. Nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life. He loves Canada so much. He loved Barrie. He loved the OHL. He loved hockey. And he's just another Mark Scheifele, Aaron Ekblad. This guy is the next one coming, and this guy's going to be a prolific He's scoring highlight reel goals already right now. He's only 20 years old. I'm telling you, this guy he's unstoppable. And best thing too, off the ice, he's a bull too. He works out. No one can keep up with him. No one can even come close to him. So he was great in the series. He's great all year, but that series, obviously everybody's honing in on him. And we also had Sokolov, who brought us some scoring too. He's pretty dangerous, even though he was a little heavier, but he could find a way to score. I feel like that team there was almost just as good as our team in 2013. If we would have got, that series was a real hard series against the Mississauga team with McLeod, and I'm trying to remember all the players that they had then, but they were pretty stacked. They'd tip it. They had a lot of guys that could score, and it was a hard fought series. And every time we played those guys in the playoffs, it was really a tough goal. But we did find a way. But I mean, that team was supposed to beat us. I mean, and they said it all year that they wanted to play us in the playoff. They thought we were too offensive and couldn't play on our own end, but we showed them in the end that we knew what was coming at us, and they might have had a couple more guns, but I think we were fine. And then after them, the Kingston team, they loaded up. We didn't really load up. We got Luchuk, but we only kind of halfway loaded up, where these other teams were giving away the farm for their future for that season. And we got off to a hell of a start and won our first 2 games at home. And the series turned when we went back to Kingston. I don't know what went wrong. It's just one of those things. I think Leo Lazarev in net was great some nights, and some nights he wasn't. So I loved him to death. He worked so hard, but being that smaller of a goalie, they really got to us with putting traffic in front of the net. It doesn't matter how good of a goalie you are when you're small and there's traffic in front of you, pucks are going to go in. It's just simple as that. If you're not a big guy, you can't just get out and block stuff. It's tough, but that was a team I felt like we could have been in the final with that group.
And now this past season, obviously it gets cut short due to COVID. So just take us through that month of March and into April, how it went, kind of talking to guys and the uncertainty of if the season was kind of going to get going again. I know the guys got sent home for a couple of weeks in March. So just take us through from the last day everything got shut down after that game in Owen Sound to when it finally really got shut down.
Yeah, the Owen Sound game, we played a really good game. We always have hard games against Owen Sound in their building, and we found a way to win there, which was huge for us. And it was kind of right before that game, all we were working on is D zone coverage and getting ready to, I felt like we were giving up too many goals. And they all bought in, and we went into that rink and let them shoot from the outside. We got outshot double the shots, but they're all from the outside. We didn't care about that. We were just going to let them. So I was really excited about our guys clinching our spot in the playoffs. I mean, that game was huge for us to separate ourselves. We really wanted Oshawa in the playoffs. We feel like we matched up well against them, and that got us really close to playing Oshawa. But after that game, I got a call from Dale actually. And Dale says, "Todd, be ready. You're going to be shut down." He goes, "You might be over." And I'm laughing at him. I'm like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." He found out the basketball season was shut down, and Dale does his research, and he's been really adamant about through all this. And I didn't even believe him. I was golfing with him in June, and he was telling me, "Todd, there won't even be a season next year." And I'm like, "Dale, come on. You're reading into it too much." But he was right the whole time. And so the next day I get a phone call from Howie Campbell that get the guys to the rink and we're going to send them home. And I was like, okay, this will be a week or two. The problem we had was with our Europeans, with Seelovs and net, him going back, I don't think he would have been able to come back. So I was like, why we got to send him home? He was playing so well. But yeah, from that point on, I felt confident we were going to come back and play. I was very disappointed from a coach's standpoint and in my player's standpoint. I really feel we were going to do something special. I really feel we could have won the first round of the playoffs and surprised somebody. And our players all felt it too. And we were dangerous. No one wanted to play us down the stretch. Like they knew we were coming, and they didn't know what they were getting every night from our team. And if our goalies stood on their head, they were in trouble. But then, yeah, coming into April, I'm still thinking we're playing, and I'm kind of disappointed that the way the season ended for when we weren't going to go back, that I couldn't come back and coach the Barrie Colts. but at the same time, I really thought about it a lot. And to go in that rink every day, I mean, I would have loved to do it. But by having your good buddy not be there, maybe, and I was there 10 years. And for me, being there 10 years was a little bit about my daughter being sick too, and she's all better now. But that was a big reason why I stayed in Barrie as long as I did, because I didn't want to leave my daughter. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't really want to leave Barrie. But at the same time, like I said, Dale not being there, I mean, going down in that dressing room, and as much as I want to be a Barrie Colts coach, and I feel for the players, and I know the players wanted me to coach the team as well, I just wish them the best. And I talked to most of them after and just said, whoever comes in, just listen to them. So for myself in this COVID time, it's tough, and I pursued a job with the Wheat Kings, and I have a lot of connections with a few guys from Las Vegas and with the Winnipeg Jets. So they told me it's better to be on a bench than a couch. So for now, it is a good spot for me to be, and I'm really excited to work with the Brandon Wheat Kings. They're a historic franchise that has put a lot of players in the NHL. And Kelly McCrimmon's still around here. He still pops in about every 3 weeks and has his office still upstairs. So there's a good connection with Vegas and my friend Zinger in Winnipeg. Those guys told me, or Zinger told me, that this would be a great spot for me to go for now and pursue my career, get my path going. So I'm lucky because a lot of teams aren't hiring or anything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously going from the OHL to the WHL with the Brandon Wheat Kings this year, just tell us a little bit about how that kind of came about and how that's kind of going right now. Obviously, season didn't start on time and it kind of got moved around quite a bit, and they're still even looking at starting the season hopefully anytime soon.
Yeah, well, I got out here I had to quarantine for 14 days. I left on the 3rd of January. And got here. It took a couple of days. It was about 23 and a half hours to get here to one province over, which was crazy to me. But got here. It's a great city, about 60,000 people. Was great to finally get out of the house, and after 14 days, and be able to go to the rink. They've updated the rink. Their owner put about $500,000 into their dressing room, and they got a new owner there. So named Jared, and he owns half the town out here. So he's a good guy to know, and he really wants to be successful with this. And WHL is already said we're going to play. It could be, they said 24 games. Now they're talking, I can't really say because it's not announced, but they're looking at different options for either us playing, depending on borders of provinces, and that they're working out those details now. There could be some kind of bubble. I don't know yet, but it looks like there'll be something like that.
Absolutely. And this interview of the Sam Hossack Media Podcast was brought to you by Juice Plus, a line of whole food products to bridge the gap between what you eat and what you should eat. Juice Plus, the next best thing to fruits and vegetables. For more information, please contact independent distributor Shelly Hossack. Todd, it's a pleasure as always to talk to you, buddy. We wish you the best of luck if the season does go out there in the Western Hockey League, and just keep up the awesome work.
Thanks a lot, Sam, buddy.